All right, guys. This is, I don't know what week we're on. Week 4. I know we've skipped a week, but I'm going to say the date, which is what? Let's see. September 17th. That way, when I go looking for this one for whatever reason, various reasons, I'll be able to find it early on in the Zoom. Okay. I have a packed lineup, and I'm going to kind of zoom through some of this stuff, kind of karate chop it. One thing that was not in my notes or before today, but I was in a store earlier today, and I thought I really need to add this because I bet a lot of people don't know. I think I got muted. Okay, y'all can hear me now?
Yeah, I muted you. I'm sorry. I hit the wrong one.
I did every now and then I'll do a live on my Facebook wall. Usually the ones I do in the group, I try to keep everything as separated as I can, but sometimes I did one on my Facebook wall, and then I shared it into the group, and it was very spot on and concise about gut health and the immune system and sort of the progression of disease, leaky gut, how antibiotics factor into that, and how people end up with fungal infections, and how doctors will treat those things. And I really, rather than me going over that again, sometimes I don't like to listen back to myself. Not sometimes. I never like to listen back to myself. And so for whatever reason, that one, I thought, this may be the best I've ever explained that. And so that night I got in the bathtub and was soaking in my Epsom salt, and I listened back to it to see if it was as like chronological and spot on as I thought it was. And I was like, oh, I impressed myself with how I sort of stayed on topic. And it was one of the better explanations I've ever done about disease, timelining with people, helping people figure out when they got sick, therefore probably what made them sick, therefore figuring out how to get to the root and the core of it. And so I really highly suggest that you watch it. If you can find it on my wall, or it's been shared in the group and it's from maybe 2 days ago, and the word timeline is going to be in the title of it. If you start looking, timelining or timeline, I'm not sure. Basically how to help people. It's mostly information. You could use it as a business tool if you feel inclined to help diagnose people. Most people don't, and that's okay. But mostly it could help you figure out your own health mysteries, or family members, people who have things going on in their own health that are mysterious, or they've been put on weird pharmaceuticals for. And lots of times, if you can get to the root core rather than a pharmaceutical which covers up the symptom, you can get a person actually well. So, okay. That being said, I would love for you to use that as a resource. And like I said, I won't cover all of that tonight because I already did it. But
Lori, is that on your own timeline, or is that on the in the detox? It's in both, but I think I saw it on your own timeline, right?
Right.
That was great. Okay.
That is where I actually did it, and then I shared it. So you can find it in either place. Also, today I was in a store and I was walking through, and I'm like blazing through because Jetty's out in the truck. I don't shop much these days, but I had to go in and grab a few things. And as I'm walking through, I see a little end cap, and they have Flonase. And I was like, I forget that you can get that without a prescription these days. And I went over and grabbed me some. Now, do y'all believe that? No, I did not grab me some, because that stuff is a steroid. Now, the reason I share that with you is because after you listen to the video I was talking to you about earlier, you'll understand that steroids are immunosuppressants. That means they suppress your body's natural ability to get you well. It suppresses your immune system. That's why it's called, the drug classification is immunosuppressant. And, you know, my brother died in 2006. It was very mysterious. Nobody could figure out what was wrong with him. He just collapsed at a birthday party and, like, was walking toward a table to get another miniature Reese's Pieces fun size. And he had just said, I'm going to go get me another one of these. And he's walking away and he takes a couple steps and falls and doesn't even catch himself. And I mean, everybody was like, what in the hell just happened? There was a paramedic team, like just down the road doing some sort of practice. So he immediately got help. And they couldn't resuscitate. It took, like, I think it was 28 minutes before they got anything back. And from that point, though, that was the last time anybody spoke to him, was when he said, I'm going to go get me some of these Reese's Pieces. Family and included. Like, he was unconscious from that point on. He lived about a little more than a week after that, longer. He lived, but he was on all the stuff. And I have probably spent all these years since then trying to unravel that. And one thing I do know for sure is that we grew up in mold. His tox screens all came back clean as a whistle. He hadn't been taking anything. He had dealt with nasal polyps a few years before. And the doctor who did the, like, burning and searing and, like, cleaned out the nasal polyps and seared off the ends of it and all this, had never had to do that surgery but one time on anybody. And he had to do it on my brother 3 times, if I'm remembering that correctly. And the last time when my brother was messing up his record, he was like, okay, I've never had this. I don't know what's going on here. But the next time he had to do it, he told my mom, I just got back from a conference where I learned about, basically it had to do with, my mother tells this story differently, but I remember it. And if you're local, please don't correct my mother about this. Your daughter said she's got enough pain to deal with from this situation, but I believe that doctor told her that he had been to a conference and he had learned about something different that had to do with agricultural people who worked around agriculture. What they would experience would be different in their nasal. The dust, the hay, the stuff is different. And I believe that he told her that it was more inclined to a fungal issue. That's the way I remembered it back then. And my mom remembers a lot of things about that whole era different than I do. And I think a lot of it has to do with, so she doesn't feel any guilt. So, and there's not any blame, but I know she would have, if she'd have thought that, she would have made sure and he didn't work with cattle anymore and all the things. And so that's the reason I'm stressing to you how much I actually believe it to say it out loud to you. Now, he was also frequently using Flonase. So his body's ability to fight off anything that was wrong with him was always suppressed, because he was shooting a steroid up his nose every day. And now you can just walk into a store and buy that crap. Okay. Now you may be on it and be like, I also helped a local person who had been told that they had some sort of weird nasal cancer. I was like, I bet you don't have a nasal cancer. I had this weird thing about believing that most cancers show up on a screen and that it's not. I believe that most of it, you don't have to believe this with me. I'm not trying to suggest this to you, but I believe that because of, based on lots of studying that I've done on Mayo Clinic slides and looking at like colon cancer and seeing that the exact same image that they use for colon cancer is what they use to show a fungal infection in the gut. Literally the exact same image. Not almost, but the same picture of the same colon on the same day from the same angle, the exact same. And that's years ago started me down a road going, I wonder if fungal infections in the gut show up the same as and look like cancer. And then also not just fungal infections, I have also wondered the same thing about parasites. And so anyway, I say all that because the local friend that I helped, was talking about the fact that he had been diagnosed with some super weird, like in his sinuses and maybe I think also in his lungs, weird cancer. And I was like, dude, try ProBio 5 and see if it starts to go away. And my sister and I had a conversation about it, and she goes, ask him if he uses Flonase. I was like, surely he doesn't, because at that time I talked about it a lot. He would have seen that. He would have said that. He would have, sure enough. Yeah, that's what he used every day. And I was like, okay, well, anything that's going on up there, your body cannot get rid of it because you're using an immunosuppressant every day. So that I felt was worth sharing with you guys. Seeing that Flonase today. I haven't seen Flonase in the wild in a long, long time. And I was like, whoa, big green package just staring at me when I was Ollie's. I was walking through Ollie's of all places. I don't know if you guys, like, not your likely, it wasn't a pharmacy. It was just staring at me on the end cap. So, let's see. I'm going to jump from that into, still about the immune system. This is just offhanded information. I listened to a video, Dr. Brian Ardis, Ardis. I've talked about him before on here, I think, because when I spelled that, I think I spelled that on here before. He's the person that I most listened to when people were in really dire hospital situations and dying, and family members were dying of COVID. And I would share his information with people, and the most accurate feedback, or the most feedback that I got that seemed to be the most accurate information, always seemed to come from him in regards to remdesivir, in regards to the reason I believe histamines. He didn't call it histamines, but he believes that COVID was bioengineered in a lab, and that it was probably made out of a couple of different synthetic venoms, which is what I believe too. I believe it based on lots and lots of things. He even talks about nicotine patches helping people get their taste and smell back, because the nicotine receptors in your body receive the same thing as COVID. COVID goes in there and fills those cells or those receptors. And if you can get it out of there with like nicotine, you're a lot more likely to get your taste and smell back. Now, that's not a commercial for nicotine patches, although nicotine is not the devil you think it is. It's the other stuff that goes in cigarettes and such. So just sharing those little tidbits of information. But the most recent video that I watched was like light bulb moment for me, because I'm kind of famous and / infamous around my town and amongst my Facebook friends for recommending Tractor Supply horse paste ivermectin to everybody and anybody, because they had handcuffed all the ivermectin where people couldn't get it. And it's like, oh, it's dangerous. I literally had a local travel nurse mock me on Facebook, and I usually stay out of stuff. I mean, I'm liable to say anything on my own wall, but I usually stay out of stuff when other people are having their own little private conversation. I'm like, whatever. But I told her off, and I said, why don't you keep mocking And I said her 3 names, and I said, while you're out there making a fortune, because she was traveling all over the place, travel nursing all over the place. While you're out there making a fortune and watching people die, and you don't know what you're talking about. And I felt that strongly, feel that strongly to this day. But what Brian Artis said that was like, boom, I don't know why I never had heard it exactly put this way. He said that zinc, this is the part you need to write down. The rest of it was just a storytelling, help you remember it. But zinc is what keeps your body from catching a virus. Zinc in your cells. But zinc doesn't naturally want to go in your cells. You have to use a zinc, I think the word was an ionosphere. Ionosphere, I think, or it may have been ERE, ionosphere 4, I think. And there are a few of those. Ivermectin is one of them. Hydroxychloroquine is one of them. And there are probably others. Those are the most popular. But he also talked about how the pharmaceuticals, which we know this if you've been on these other Zooms, when I talked about ease and the New Zealand green-lipped mussel and how they tested that out on the shorelines. They got the information from the people of New Zealand. They know that's how they knew that the green-lipped mussel was so good for inflammatory diseases. And then they took it and patented it. Well, the same goes for hydroxychloroquine. Is a synthetic patented version of, I'm going to call it quercetin. Quercetin. So the 2 things that so far, if you haven't written them down, need to be iron and quercetin. Quercetin, however you say it. Okay, ionophore. Thank you. I got fact checkers. Thank you. I need them tonight. I'm pulling out all I know, and sometimes I'm going to give you some typos to write down. Okay, so quercetin will push zinc into the cell. That's what an ionophore is. Quercetin is the natural version. It's made like from the rinds of citrus fruits. It's the natural version of hydroxychloroquine. Wormwood is one of the natural versions of what they copied to make ivermectin. Ivermectin has been being used for, I can't remember how many years, 40 years. It has been the Nobel Prize winner more than once, I believe. It's one of the safest drugs on the planet, and yet doctors across America were acting like it was suddenly dangerous. What a joke. Anyway, you can get that at Tractor Supply. What I personally am using this season for this run of whatever they distribute is I'm going to be using zinc and quercetin because I found, well, the reason I'm going to be using that is because Jetty previously had a swallow issue, which I actually blame on shedding of this nonsense. And the swallow issue makes it where it's not easy for him to take pills. So they have quercetin in drops, they have quercetin, they have zinc in drops. I'm not telling you that's the best way to go. I'm not telling you what brand to get. I'm just saying they also, I noticed, I looked at for a friend today, they have quercetin with like quercetin pills anyway. I'm not sure about drops that also have NAC, maybe milk thistle, which all would be respiratory support, would be more liver support. NAC is a great detoxifier. I think it's great for detox pathways. You've seen me probably talk about it on my wall. One time I went to the trouble to make a graphic that just said in great big letters with a pretty background, NAC, and look it up. it got rid of a lot of brain fuzz for me when I started using it a long time ago. Um, I also have wondered if that's another reason that I didn't have as much trouble like some people, some of the testers had on Restore because I was already using something that was good for detox pathways. Um, if I were in the situation that if I were listening to me say this right now, and I just wanted it simplified and say, just tell me what to get, I'd say, go get you one of them zincs. I'm sorry. Well, go get you one of those quercetins that has NAC and also milk thistle and vitamin C. I think maybe those are the 4 things that were in it. And get you some zinc and take those 2 things every day, and you probably won't get the viruses this season. I think, and also I think using the NAC is going to also help support your liver, many other things. These all can be found on Amazon. I definitely found that one on Amazon for a friend earlier because I think she has like a walking pneumonia type thing going on that's post COVID. I don't know if that's what it is or not, but just a lasting cough and stuff like that. So, all right, moving on. I have implemented into my life, because of the fact that I have been doing the caretaking role here in this house, and I needed to be strong. I was like, I'm gonna tell you how wimpy I was when my grandbaby was my first grandbaby. Now I have 2 grandsons, but one didn't come into our lives until he was 3. My son adopted his oldest son, and we didn't ever even know him until he was 3, and he's about to be 8. So I didn't have him as a baby. But when my other grandson was born a couple of years ago, yesterday actually was his birthday. When he was born, as soon as he got any weight on him, I would throw my back out trying to lug him around. My shoulders, I was so like upper body weak, and I was like, golly. And every time we would be around them, I would have to come home and get an adjustment. And here's what I know. I have started stretching, and I'm not talking about, I mean, you don't have to be a gymnast, but there are things that you can find on YouTube. If you have like aches and pains in your back, in your shoulders, in your ribs, rib heads popping out, that can be one of the most painful things on the planet, is a rib head popping out. But YouTube, I learned this YouTube tutorial thing because I'm a homeschool mom. My son's one of the most imaginative and creative and gifted welders that I have ever met. He could get a job doing welding anywhere, and he learned it all on YouTube tutorials because that's the kind of cool homeschooling mom I was. And that's the kind of homeschooling motherhood I have here too. Teach yourself how to get yourself well. Be your best advocate. Get on even TikTok, but I don't use TikTok, but I used to be able to, for some reason, I can't see TikToks anymore. I guess because I don't have their app, but I used to be able to watch all their TikToks. But get on YouTube when you have a chiropractic issue, look it up. Figure out how to put yourself like this in a door frame, put your feet inside it, and stretch like this, and pop your own rib head back in. You will be amazed at the things that you can lay in your own bed and put your knee up and put this other knee on it and bend. You can get that lower back to stay in place, and you'll be strengthening all of those muscles along the way to where you will quit popping out of place. It's been my almost, I'm not going to claim I'm going to claim absolutely 0 credit for everything I'm telling you. My husband, my athlete husband, is who convinced me of this, because every night before we would go to sleep, we'd be laying in bed and we'd be talking or looking at our phones, and right as it's time to go to bed and lights are out, I hear ring, 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 ring. And it's him on the floor on his foam roller, making sure his back stays in place. every night. Not anymore. Like right now, he's not able to do that quite yet. Like we're getting there. We're getting there. But I would think, oh God, I would think lame until he started telling me how to keep my back in place, how to keep my shoulder in place, how to keep my hips in place. And it's amazing what you can figure out for yourself. And I will tell you, I have gotten so strong. Let me do another wimpy example for you. My cat used to get up under the bed and hide because at night she knows that it's time to put her up. And I would think, oh, I hope Jetty gets her because I don't want to get down there and then get my ass back up. That's how I felt. And now I don't have Jetty to do it. And I'm so strong now. I'm not going to tell you that I'm like strong, but I'm so strong now that I can get down there and I can pop right back up. And obviously I'm older now than I was back then, but all of that, none of it is from actually working out. It's from stretching. It's from having had to have done it. And it's from helping my husband get better. And, I'm just a firm believer in advocating for yourself, figuring out what's wrong. And I hadn't felt as good as I feel now it maybe my whole adult life. And I believe that most of that has to do with advocating for myself, trying to figure out what mold did to me growing up. I mean, as a big deal. And then trying to figure out how to undo it. Hang on, I'm just making. Sorry, I got way behind in the chat. Yeah, I can hold a garden hose. You've seen me do that. Okay. I'm going to move on to the next thing. In the comments, when I was asking people what you would like to learn about, I got a lot of messages about that. And then I also read the comments, things you'd like to learn about tonight. There's one thing I wanted to touch on that I took notes on. One of my friends asked about detoxing fat cells. And I was like, oh yeah, I think Dr. Hartman talks about this in maybe not the video I've shared. If anybody knows where that video is, where Dr. Hartman. Let me get that. I don't think I can. All right. Where Dr. Hartman talks about fat cells, detoxifying fat cells. And maybe it's not Dr. Hartman. Maybe it can be somebody who presented at convention about about liver detox and detoxifying fat cells. But, you have so many fat cells and they can get filled with cellular trash, cellular waste. They can get filled with heavy metals. They can get filled with all kinds of things. And getting that clutter out of your fat cells makes a difference in let's just be real, what your body looks like. It's for sure made a difference in what my body looks like right now. And I'm going to read something to you these notes that I've captured from different things I've looked up. Have you ever wondered how and why our bodies store toxic elements? Does it seem daunting to detox your fat cells? Actually, we are all designed to continuously and naturally remove these pollutants from our bodies. But sometimes this natural process is interrupted and needs a reset. Types of toxic substances. Water-soluble toxic substances are easily flushed out via the blood and kidneys. Fat-soluble toxic substances, such as heavy metals, pesticides, preservatives, food additives, pollutants, plastics, and other environmental chemicals, must become water-soluble to eliminate fully and are therefore more of a challenge. Detoxing happens mostly in the liver. But if our digestive and detox pathways are not functioning optimally, toxic elements find their way from the liver to the blood, fat cells, and the brain, where they can set for years, setting you up for health concerns, which that very much rung in my head like dementia, Alzheimer's. That's what that made me think of. I'm not saying that's what it is, but that's the way my brain jumped. Okay. The next heading said the most important quarter inch of the body for detoxing fat cells. When we digest a meal, nutritious and toxic fats are shuffled through the stomach into the small intestine, where bile from the liver and gallbladder emulsifies them. In the small intestine, there are millions of small villi and lacteals, I don't know if I'm saying that right, little finger-like grasses or mucous membranes that sweep the gut, absorb good fats, and send toxic fats onto the liver for processing. The beginning of the lymphatic system is called gut-associated lymphatic tissue, or GALT, G-A-L-T, which lines the inside of the entire intestinal tract. Now, I'm just going to pause here and say the lining of the intestinal tract is something I've covered in the past with you guys when I was talking about leaky gut and fungal infections and how they impact the lining of your intestines, and they can actually make your intestines permeable and allow toxins to escape. Permeable meaning it should be a trap door, like your lining of your gut should be a steel trap. But when you have a fungal infection, it makes it more like a screen door, and it allows toxins to escape, makes the intestines permeable or porous, and those toxins get into your body, and your body goes, that's not supposed to be there, and it goes on attack mode, and it starts sending, is it antibodies maybe? It starts attacking and goes autoimmune. That's where the majority, and let me retrace to tell you where we started here. Usually that starts with something like an antibiotic or a steroid. Okay. That's what we've discussed in the past about the intestinal lining. So I'm going to read this. The beginning of the lymphatic system is called gut-associated lymphatic tissue, or GALT, which lines the inside of the entire intestinal tract. This is what from this person saying this, the most important quarter inch of your body, because it is here that lacteals help absorb and process good fats, bad fats, and undigested proteins. Those undigested proteins, by the way, that's what gets into that's what causes autoimmune, in my opinion. If this detox pathway is not working properly, the body will store toxic fats rather than remove them. The 1/8 inch on the inside of the gut wall must have those villi and lacteals functioning well, and the 1/8 inch on the outside of the gut, which is that lymph tissue, must not be congested. The lymphatic system around the gut will take fats back to the liver, where good fats are used to make cholesterol, cell membranes, hormones, brain cells, and skin, to name a few. Toxic substances are processed by the liver and earmarked for elimination. They're earmarked to get out of you. Toxic substances are processed by the liver and earmarked. Your liver says, get that out of here. Now, the things that really light up in my mind when I'm reading this is that is all the more reason for these detox pathways to be at the very forefront of your mind. It was, and to be honest with you, like, it was something that I had been like, oh yeah, detox pathways, check. I'm doing lymphatic massage, but I had never dug into it until this. Like, the fact that I did something and my body began eliminating toxins. I mean, I'm talking about in the form of armpit sweat. I'm talking about in the form of stinky, itchy feet. I'm talking about in the form of all the bathroom stuff. When my body was eliminating it, I was like, what on earth? I have been on Plexus for 13 years. How is this happening? How is it still there? And I just read to you how. It was toxins and perhaps heavy metals, perhaps trash from pharmaceuticals that we've taken, or Tylenol, or whatever. And it's coming out of those cells and your body is getting rid of it. And so what I'm reading to you, if it should give you anything, is patience. Because some people will say, oh my God, this caused an emergency bathroom situation. And then some people will say, oh my God, haven't pooped in 3 days. And that's because everybody's different in the way that your body works on a daily basis. And when you are doing something that's new and the detox pathways are ancient, like just think all the vines grow in there, that if you have never dealt with your detox pathways, if you haven't done lymphatic massage, if you haven't done Epsom salt soaking, if you've never gotten on a vibration plate and jiggled it out really good, your body is going to eliminate these things differently than if you had done all of that stuff. And not to mention the fact that our bodies are all different anyway. If you're not staying hydrated, if you're not giving it a river to flow it out, I mean, you got to be staying hydrated. And the patience aspect here is so important, because if your first experience is an emergency bathroom, stinky feet, stinky armpits, and then you're like, okay, and I haven't lost a pound. Okay. Think of what your body is having to do and eliminate based on just what I just read you. Okay. Symptoms of congested gut. We said what gut was. I'm going to read it to you again. Gut-associated lymphatic tissue. Occasional constipation, cellulite, mild rash, itchy skin, occasional swollen hands and feet, breast swelling and tenderness during a menstrual cycle, elevated histamine reaction to common environmental irritants, occasional headaches, sore joints, and stiffness upon waking. In the sub thing here, it says, see also your lymphatic system and hemorrhoids, swollen ankles, and get this one, and varicose veins. I hadn't really factored that into the post that I made the other day showing about the oil that I'm using. I'm like, look at this miracle oil. Look what it's doing to my veins. I have this spot on the inside. I don't know that it's varicose. Everybody's like, that's a spider vein, whatever it is. I don't know. Depends on what day you look at it, what it looks like, but it's on the inside of my right thigh, and I've had it since I was 16, had a bad case of poison ivy. I always thought that the fact that we didn't get it treated, and I one night woke up crying and it was in such terrible, dramatic need. I used Icy Hot on it, which was brilliant, and it set me on fire. The next day, of course, it started drying up, probably because of the alcohol in the Icy Hot. And from that day up until forever, I won't use Icy Hot because of what it did to that. I'm not saying the Icy Hot did it, but I'm scared of it, because that spot on my leg, in the exact spot, is where those veins have flared up and it looks like crap. I always put my hand there. I just rest my hand on it, or I don't wear short shorts at all. And I started using this oil. And I mean, I'm going to say it's the oil, but when I was reading this earlier, I was like, oh, interesting. Varicose veins. So, okay, I'm moving on. Just 1 second. By the way, everybody wants to know what that oil is, and I'm not giving it up, not until this company gives us a discount, because if I give it up, 150 people are going to go order it, and I've got y'all are my hook. You realize this? Like, if I'm going to get us a discount code, I'm going to be like, look, I'll get 150 people to order this stuff if you'll give us a discount code. And they'll be like, they already did. I'll give it up. I'm waiting on the person to talk to me this week. It's coming back from their vacation. Whoever the person is going to give us this. They said they will. We'll see. Okay, there are many factors such as diet and stress that affect intestinal villi and bowel function. Acute stress can cause intestinal villi, the grass-like mucous membranes, to dry out, causing occasional constipation. A history of bowel irregularities can also dry out villi and force them to produce a reactive mucus. If this mucus is excessive, the stools could appear normal, 1 to 3 regular bowel movements a day, but you could still be bloated or carrying extra belly weight. If the mucus is excessive, the stools can become looser and more frequent. If you ever see mucus in your stool, it should be addressed right away. When this happens, the villi have become congested and bogged down in mucus. The delivery of good fats, excretion of toxic fats, and health of intestinal lining as a barrier for toxic elements are breaking down. Normally, toxic substances absorbed into lymph are neutralized by white blood cells within the lymphatic system. But if mucus is excessive, this may not happen, and instead toxic elements are directed back to the liver. Okay, hang on. Where do toxic fats go? The liver plus bile. Optimal bile flow from the liver is critical to health. Bile acts like Pac-Man in the liver and intestines, where it gobbles up fats, heavy metals, pesticides, unwanted bacteria, and numerous other chemicals that can cause problem in the digestive tract. If there is plenty of fiber in the diet, bloated bile will be taken to the toilet. If you are deficient in fiber, up to 94% of the bile and its toxic baggage will reabsorb into the liver to be recycled. It's like, try again. You didn't fiber it out. Try again. The liver can become overwhelmed because it's not expecting the return of these toxic fats they already left and thought, right? Over time, the liver can become congested and bile can turn thick and sludgy, making it more difficult to break down a hamburger, fatty foods, heavy metals, and other fat-soluble toxic substances. Over time, bile can become too sluggish and thick to enter the small intestine and properly buffer stomach acids. Okay, I'm going to scroll down a little bit more. Food intolerances, plus the inability to absorb good fats. Many of us simply don't break down and absorb good fats because villi and lymph around the gut are congested. That's another reason we do the whole around the gut area. You do the lymphatic massage around the gut area. That's why so many of us, I'm not going to say us, so many are diagnosed with wheat, dairy, and soy intolerances. These foods are heavy, harder to digest, and create reactive intestinal mucus when they enter the gut undigested. Let's say you eat a slice of bread. If there is excess mucus in the gut and the gluten is not properly broken down in the stomach and upper small intestine, it can irritate the intestinal wall and trigger production of even more reactive mucus, which will further compromise the intestinal wall. Undigested proteins can find their way into the lymphatic system where they can cause further inflammation. There are times to reduce or even eliminate these types of foods for a stretch of time, but, and this is what I'm seeing with people, a life sentence of no wheat and dairy is unnecessary if these foods are unrefined, organic, and non-processed. Once you begin to heal the digestive tract, it will begin to tolerate harder to digest foods again. The reason I'm stressing that and looking at you in your eyeballs when I say this is because people who tell me that they're even allergic to stuff like shellfish, for example, lots of times if they heal their gut with triplex, are no longer allergic to it. Or like in my sister's case where she was allergic to wheat and now she's not allergic to anything anymore because she healed the digestive tract. So this is sort of bouncing back and forth with things I've told you in the past. Oh, lettuce, by the way, people are like saying, somebody says I have a problem, they have a problem digesting lettuce. I believe that's something that they spray on the lettuce. If you'll get organic lettuce, you'll probably be fine. I know I've read into that some because I had trouble with, especially like iceberg lettuce. I think it's something that they spray on it. Okay. I'm sorry. I hope y'all are not getting bored with what I'm reading. I just have a little bit more, but I think this stuff is so interesting. Your detoxification and assimilation pathways may be compromised if you experience occasional constipation or loose stools, see mucus in your stools, have to avoid certain foods, or have to eat certain foods to maintain regular elimination. If you feel that a heavy or high fat meal sits in your stomach, or you get nauseous or experience pain after that meal, then your bile flow may be compromised and you are likely storing toxic fats. And let's see. A lot of this stuff came out of PubMed. The reference numbers are NIH, PubMed, Medline Plus, Textbook of Medical Physiology, the 3-Season Diet, Body, Mind, and Sport. It's a very heavily referenced thing that I just read to you, and it's all pointing to doing a liver detox for the fat cells to get the toxins out of the fat cells so that your body can begin to properly, in case I didn't connect those dots for you yet, so that the body can properly absorb the good fats and eliminate the bad fats, and so that your body can actually use the cholesterol. Jetty was telling me just this morning, he says, I was just reading a thing earlier that said the reason they have vilified cholesterol is because it's one of the main things that makes your brain work. I was like, of course it does. That just totally makes sense. So, okay. All right, now I'm going back to my other notes really quick. I'm going to cover 3 more things. I kind of think I want to, let's see. I'm going to cover 2 business aspects, and normally I would save those for the end, but I want to land on the other 2 because they're just so, mwah. So one thing is, I had a question today that I used to get all the time. I don't get it anymore, but someone, and it may be one of you, and I don't remember who it was. Let me see. I don't know if you're in the group or not, but someone prospected me for another company today, which happens from time to time. It doesn't happen as much to me as it does to other leaders in the company, probably because I'm so brazen. And they're like, I'm not asking her, right? But, and I also think that I'm probably not prospected for the fact that I'm all about the products and not necessarily a compensation plan. Although I will say we have the best compensation plan. And if you don't believe that, you can ask my husband, because he did some digging. When we first started making money, he's like, I want to know where this is coming from. So when I was prospected today, very kindly, and it didn't irritate me, it never does. She just asked if I would take a look at their products and also their compensation plan. And I told her, hey, I'm all about network marketing, and I use other network marketing products in my daily life. I'll take a look at it. However, I didn't want to get your hopes up, because as far as the compensation plan goes, that aspect of it may ever turn into another business. Something that I think it's fair for you to know, and I don't say this to dampen your spirits, but it's a startup opportunity. That's what she told me. And I said, I feel like it's just proper for you to know. It's either 97 or 98%. I'm not sure which one it is, of all new network marketing companies never make it to their second year. If they do, they're going to have a much better chance of making it to 10 years. If they make it to 10 years, they're probably going to be around a legacy company. Now, let me tell you something. It took a long time for me to quite get that, because I come from, my dad was a wheeler dealer, and he didn't do network marketing, but he was a wheeler dealer in all kinds of ways. And people often came to him to try to get him to do network marketing stuff. And he was always coming home telling my mom about ground floor opportunities. And it stuck in my head. It was something that made an impression on me. And the thing I'll tell you about ground floor opportunities is they're usually very new. And there's something to be said for the magic that happens when you get the right products. And if you ever hear the story about how our products landed in our lap, it's the most, how in the world did that happen type story, especially ProBio 5. How we landed ProBio 5 was just the weirdest. And when you get the magic of the right people and the right, I'm talking about like the first, let's say the first 6 people, the core 6 people that I think of when I think of like Sheila Medina and like Coach and Patty and Deborah and Jerry, like people with hearts ablaze like that. And they were sort of our launching pad, and they weren't scared to go out and do the hard work, and they weren't scared to go out and pour into people and make fools of themselves if they had to, and show up at these in-person events. And they'll still do it to this day. And when you take, that's part of the magic. And when you take people who are visionaries, which is what I believe the role that he plays to this day is he's a visionary. And when you mix it all together with a really generous compensation plan, that's why a company makes it past its first year. And it's rare. And that's why people who do it, like, now I'm going to say this, and I love oils. I just told you about an oil that I use, an unnamed oil that is not from a network marketing company, by the way, in case you were wondering. And it's not a singular oil. It's like it's a concoction. So in case you're asking me, is it frankincense? No, it's not. I don't even think it has frankincense in it, but I love oils. I love all kinds of network marketing products, and I'm not knocking any of them. And I say this with caution because I know there's going to be people on here who sell oils, but I don't know people making a lot of money selling oils. They got to be out there somewhere. There's probably 10 or 12 of them, and they're probably making a lot of money. But I don't know a lot of people making a lot of money. I don't know a lot of people who are living in debt free. And I know this is not ground floor, and I don't do a pitch like this. I don't talk about this. I don't ever talk about the business opportunity, hardly ever. But if you're on here and you are already in it a little and you're wondering if it's a safe place to take the next step, I say, even if your upline is absolute crap, because they're out there. Mine is, well, not anymore, but the person who sponsored me into this company was literally the crappiest of the crappy. I tried to call them one time. They asked me not to ever call them again. A person that enrolled under me thought I didn't know what I was talking about and tried to call, and they were like, please don't ever bother us. Lori knows what she's doing. Don't bother us. I got caught in a Google trap. This person did not sell Plexus. They had put some sort of Google ad back in the day before they got caught. And I got caught in a Google trap. And that Google trap is my upline. They were for years. They're gone now. They eventually phased themselves out. Right now my sponsor is Coach Cuevas, who I adore, by the way. So if don't misquote me on that, right? But I got sponsored into this company and was 7 deep to Coach Cuevas at that time. Nobody in between us worked the business. So I was reaching up, nobody knew, reaching up, and I finally was like, and this is what I encourage you to do. Either set it out 6 months and enroll under someone who will support you, or say, I don't care. I don't need you. If you're on the crappiest team of all the crappy teams, I did it. I did it. I feel like anytime I think about it, I think I should encourage anybody and everybody. You can do this business, and there is support everywhere. There's corporate support. There are calls. There are daily everything. Like you couldn't walk through corporate without getting hit by support and calls. I mean, swinging like car wash wands, right and left. There's somebody trying to teach you something. You can make this business work. Most people just need to get out of their own way. And if you want to set it out, if you want to gather up, and this is not something I say loosely either. This is only if you're on the crappiest of the crappy teams. You can gather up enough supplies and set it out, and you can get re-sponsored. I'm going to leave it at that. All right. Next thing. Something I didn't cover properly last week. And after I got off, I was like, why didn't I think about that? Somebody said, I said, does anybody have any questions? And somebody said, that what do you do when you get a price objection? And if you'll hold for 1 second, I have to go turn the water off, always at 8 o'clock. It's not quite 8 o'clock. If you think of another question of something I've already covered, if there's something I've already covered that you want to type it in the chat, I'll be right back. I'm headed back. Sorry. Okay. I went ahead and did that earlier than 8 o'clock, and my alarm's going to go off in a second because I realized I didn't want to go into this next topic and then have to stop halfway. So I told last time about how I overcome the price objection in my own head. I talked about hair and nails and all the stuff that people waste money on, but after I got off, I was like, I can't believe I didn't say this. And let me tell you this, I think I really resonate with Bob Heilig on almost everything about his approach to the business. I even did a promo for him earlier this year because I think he has his finger on the pulse. I posted a thing on my wall earlier today that's about misfit profits. And that topic came up yesterday. Okay, so let me say this. Nate Johnston posted this today, but yesterday I had like almost an hour-long conversation with a friend of mine over the fact that someone commented on one of my posts. They called someone a prophet, and then an argument sprung out. And so I had a behind-the-scenes chat. I didn't get in on it in the argument, but I had a behind-the-scenes chat that lasted almost an hour with a friend yesterday about, you need to look up the definition of profit, because it's a very wide, broad. Yeah, I said maybe according to what you're saying, but people who speak into things, people who declare and decree things, people who declare and decree things into happening, would be considered maybe not a biblical prophet, but it fits the Webster's dictionary. And we talked about this for so long, and then today Nate Johnston put out a thing and it was all about misfit prophets. And it was talking about how they don't go with culture. They go against cultural norms. They just speak into what they see, and they've been through the wilderness. And as I was reading it, I was thinking, I'm not going to call myself a prophet, because what happens when you call yourself a prophet is the internet breaks and they fight over it. And so that didn't really matter to me, a title. But speaking into something, and actually even kind of providing a somewhat of a course correction. I believe, I know I have said, like last year when I was doing some open Zooms like this, I said, I remember one time I was praying and I was like doing gratitude, and I was like, thank you so much that you gave me plexus. And as I was about to say the next sentence, in my spirit, it rung like a bell, was, I gave you to plexus. And I was like, what? Like, I gave you to plexus. And I was like, okay, first of all, I'm the boss of me stands up with hair on end of my arms. I'm like, no, I'm the boss of me. I chose to do this. I don't know what that means anyway. And that's a really weird way to say it. And I would never say that out loud like I just did, and I have in the past. It didn't sit well with me, and I actually had to chew on it for a long time, months, in fact. And before I actually said it out loud to my husband one day, I was like, listen to what I heard in my spirit. And he's like, yeah. He goes, babe, you're a course corrector. Like when this was all, everybody wore big old, sometimes 4X t-shirts that said slim, right? Everybody's wearing their t-shirts and they say slim on the front and on the back, and they're as broad as a truck, right? Like some of us broader than the rest, and we're wearing shirts that say slim. And I'm like, can we be a gut health company? I mean, can we really get people well rather than to fit in their swimsuits? Can we? And then the culture, it's like this. The culture, it's cooler and cuter to be all the things that I really don't care anything about. I realize it. I see it. It's not like I'm ignorant to it. But all this to say, I put Bob Heilig in the same cup. He has his finger. It's not really about being a prophet, not to me anyway, but having your finger on the pulse of maybe what is to come. So that is like a foreseeable. It's foreseeable for certain people, and it's not for a lot of people. And lots of times I'll be like, I hope you guys don't misunderstand me, but again, this is part of that whole misfit thing. I get misunderstood a lot, and I've had to become okay with that. I hope you read my heart when I say lots of times I can see the future, and I can say, look what's iceberg. Iceberg. If we stay on this weight loss train and we keep getting bigger and bigger, that's not going to be good at the next convention. Like, we've had those seasons, friends. I think we finally have something. This is what I'm seeing now. This is why when I come out and say stuff, people go, listen to her. She won't baloney with you. And I won't baloney with you. And yes, okay, so I'm saying that Bob and I usually agree on everything, but I'm about to tell you how to do a price objection. And I believe, if I'm not wrong, that he has said not to use this one. So I don't know if I'm right about this or not. That was a long-winded explanation to get around to a price objection, but I had to tell the whole story. You're welcome. You laugh. You just laugh, sister. You're right here in my screen. You see me? Okay. Here's what I'm going to say. This is old school. This will help you remember, even though I think Bob thinks it's outdated. Feel, felt, found. And it goes like this. When somebody says, that's awfully pricey, or I don't know if I can afford that, I need to ask my husband. I don't know if I can do that. Whatever it is that they say, however they word it. First of all, do you not get it? I mean, do you? You do get it, right? Like, I remember feeling that way. Feel, Feel, felt, found. I remember feeling exactly like that. And then I started thinking about the fact, and this did truly happen to me. This is my story 100%. I remember going from searching in couch cushions to go get a Sonic drink to using birthday money, because I enrolled in Plexus on October 17th. My birthday was October 14th. So 3 days after I had birthday money, I used my birthday money to enroll in Plexus, because that's the only thing I had. I was only the boss of my birthday money. I didn't have any other money. I remember what that felt like. As the second month is rolling around, I'm getting worried about, I feel so good. How am I going to afford this? And so the second month went on by on that same credit card. Nothing was asked. It gets closer to Christmas time, and then I got really worried, and I was murmuring and mumbling, probably in the car. He remembers it better than I do. Probably driving around, and I'm like, I was thinking if we cut it here and stretch things over here, and then if we, and finally he goes, what are you talking about? And I was like, I was curious if we could, and he goes, are you talking about that Plexus stuff? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh, it doesn't really matter. He's like, I don't know what it costs, but it doesn't matter because you are different. You are way different. This is more like, you act more like the person I married. I don't know what that means exactly. Haven't really made him clarify that. And he was like, I'm totally fine with it. That's the truth of my story. That really did happen. And it wasn't long after that. It wasn't long after that. Well, at that point I had money coming in from Plexus that should have been coming in, but I didn't have my subscription turned on. I was ordering every month, but I didn't have it turned on. Back then you had to have a box checked. So I didn't know I was making money. People were ordering it from me. They loved it. I thought it was a scam. The money part, I thought, well, I got scammed on that, but I don't care. Their products are good. So my feel, felt, found would be, I remember what that feels like. I have felt that way before. What I found, now you don't have to use those words, but what I figured out was I was spending more at Starbucks. Now, for me, it wasn't Starbucks, but that's probably a popular resonator. I was spending more monthly driving through the drive-through to get a pop at happy hour, because I was getting one for me and my kids. And I realized that was not very wise choices for us anyway. I have replaced that with something that has completely changed the way I feel, and my jeans are fitting better. And if you can get people to understand where you're coming from, and most people are in the same boat, feel, felt, found. That was, I think that's a really good thing to put in your hip pocket. Write down feel, felt, found, remember it that way, and then you don't have to say feel, felt, found. That's probably the part that Bob doesn't like. He's probably like, that's cheesy, don't use it. People know it. They associate it with Amway or Avon or Mary Kay or something that's probably gone now. Who knows, right? Okay. All right. I'm going to read something to y'all very quick. This was something, I'll make this story quick because I know we're getting into the 8 o'clock hour here. When we were leaving Maui, it was the year, I thought it was probably going to be our last year in Maui. It didn't turn out to be, but they had already announced that the next year was going to be at another island. The trip that we do in the fall, the trip that a lot of the diamonds and jewels are on right now. And my kids were with us, and I was like, we were leaving that day, and I was like, what if I never get to come back to this island? I need some sort of cool souvenir. We had already had to leave the resort and check out, but our plane wasn't going to leave for a few more hours. So we were driving around the island, and I had him pull over at what was similar to like a Goodwill, something like that. And I'm walking through and I'm like, I want to find some like, I don't know if I wanted to find a 50s Elvis totem pole. I wanted something that spoke blue Hawaii to me, you know, like a real grass skirt. I wanted something that was classic hula dancer, and I wasn't finding anything. And I found a piece of pink depression glass, which is something that I have some of, and I was like, this is kind of dumb to bring home from Hawaii. I had it in my cart, and then right as we're about to leave, I walk past all the books, and I'm like, give me just 1 minute, and I walk over to their spiritual section. And by the way, it's not like your average American spiritual section. Hawaii is on its own. They're on their own. And I ended up with like, I think 14 books. I just was like, oh, that looks interesting. And that looks interesting. And I ended up with one of them that was called, what I'm about to read to you is the reason I put the book in my cart. I read it on the way home from Maui. And I think you'll understand why I'm reading it to you. We're detoxing. We're doing all the things physical, but we're detoxing in the spirit too. And this is called The River and the Lion. After the great rains, the lion was faced with crossing the river that had encircled him. Swimming was not in his nature, but it was either cross or die. The lion roared and charged the river, almost drowning before he retreated. Many more times he attacked the water, and each time he failed to cross. Exhausted, the lion lay down, and in his quietness he heard the river say, "Never fight what isn't here." Cautiously, the lion looked up and asked, "What isn't here?" "Your enemy isn't here. Just as you are a lion, I am merely a river." Now the lion sat very still and studied the ways of the river. After a while, he walked to where a certain current brushed against the shore and, stepping in, floated to the other side. The name of the book was called The Little Book of Letting Go, by the way. The Little Book of Letting Go. Loved that book. Loved that story. And I felt like, I don't know who that's going to resonate with tonight, but I have a lot of, probably compared to your average, person, I have a lot of unusual spiritual beliefs. One of those very much embraces this concept at its core, which is lots of times what is coming against you is a refiner. It's trying to refine you. It's not trying to attack you or end you. It may be trying to mold you into something who you're called to be. Many times you can see that retrospectively when you look back on a season. You can look back on a season and go, oh, yeah, I literally cursed that season out. And now I realize that I am who I am because of that season. I've gone through a lot of seasons. I am way better at taking in those moments when I want to curse something out, I'm way better at stopping and asking, what am I missing? Is it me? Like, is it them or is it me? Or is it both of us? Or what am I supposed to learn? What are you trying to teach me? It is well with my soul. What are you trying to teach with? What are you trying to teach me? And I usually reference in my mind, I see the lion and I see the river. And I think, yeah, there's probably a certain current that if I'll just walk down a little bit and calm myself down and ask the right questions in my spirit, I'll float across. Like, am I doing the same stupid crap over and over again? Like, Do I find myself in the same nonsense over and over again? Am I in a fight with the same family member or same type of personality over and over again? Do I end up arguing with a narcissist? Like, have you ever watched videos about that? If you argue with a narcissist versus just being like, good on you, buddy. You're right. Right? Maybe you're right. Do you find yourself in the same situation over and over and over? And if you do, is there something besides the same stupid stuff you've done in the past that could be an answer for you? And sometimes it's you. I mean, sometimes it is. Sometimes it's something to mold you. In fact, I think our life is set up for us that's part of my unusual spiritual belief. I think our life is stacked like a deck of cards for us to mold us, to make us, to turn us into who we are called to be. So I was sharing that, and I'm going to land on this one. I'm landing the plane tonight on gratitude. It's the number one most biggest changing daily practice that I do, focusing on the things that are not just the good things in my life, but even the refiner's fire sometimes, even the river sometimes. Putting my focus in and basically into the realization that this is meant to make me. My childhood, as crazy as it was, made me fierce, made me not scared. I'm not saying I'm not scared of anything, but what I was talking to you earlier about, if you go and read that Misfit Prophet thing, a lot of it talks about they've already done it all. Like I'm not saying I have, but it talks about they've been through the wilderness and they were refined to where when they come up against cultural, and by the way, I don't normally talk about this stuff. I might talk about it to my husband, but not ever in an open setting like this. The only time I ever feel like Holy Spirit is leading me to talk about something like this is if there's a bunch of you on here that are like this. Like, I guess what I'm saying is it's not to glorify me as much as it is to say it's probably a bunch of us. You've been through the refiner's fire. That's the way it was too when I remember wrestling with God about putting the word healer in my bio on Facebook. I can promise you that would have never crossed my mind as something fun, because there is nothing fun about putting yourself out there like that. I said this to somebody yesterday. I was like, I don't know if it's still there or not. I kind of think it might be. Let me look. Yeah. Okay. Wrestled, and I'm like, you call yourself something like that, people are going to make fun of you. They're going to attack you. They're going to, oh, really? Didn't your husband just break his neck, for example? Right. Somebody local asked, they said to my massage therapist, who is a mutual friend, and then they went and tattled on themselves after they said it, because I don't know if she lit them on fire or if they just felt stupid after they said it. But they went and repeated it to my brother-in-law. I just said, why didn't she heal him? Okay. All of these fun reasons are the why. I didn't put that in my bio. I didn't want to put that in my bio, but as God began to like speak to my heart, he was like, you're not that unique. Like, there's a bunch of them out there and the church has scared them out of doing it. Healing. And when I say the church, I mean it as the corporate church, because do you see it very much? Like, something has scared people out of doing it very much. And so there's not a lot of attempting it. And so then I was like, okay, I can lean into this. I'm leaning in further. I get it. I get it. You're telling me heal the sick, right? Cast out demons. What? Right? Raise the dead? Really? What? Who told us to do that? And also, he told us to do it. He didn't say, holler at me and I'll be there at 5:30. He told us to do it. Now, I say all that to say, I can promise you I'm not the only one on here. There's probably a bunch of us, and we've either been I'm getting really hot. We've either been scared, afraid to come out of a hole. But I believe that thing I read from Nate Johnson today was just like, I mean, it felt like everything coming out of my pores, because he said they bring on revival, the ones who are misfit. And you know why we're misfit? And I'm not calling you a misfit, but you might be. We're misfit because we're not of this world. None of us, really, unless we decide to be. Okay, I probably will drop that. Now, back to gratitude. Yeah, I can see it's resonated. I'm getting little pop-up little messages. I'll read those, by the way. Okay. Gratitude unlocks all of this. Piss-offedness does not. Resentment and bitterness and shitty mother-in-laws, none of that unlocks this. That's not what unlocks it. What unlocks it is gratitude. It's the key. It's the centeredness that comes. Let me see if I can explain this. It's the centeredness that comes from realizing your life happened to you on purpose. Even the bad stuff. Because it turned you into a tiger. Like, it made you strong. Like, do you have friends that are, no offense to your wimpy friends, but they're wimpy? You're like, oh, you had the dolled up childhood. And they're not climbing under the bed to get the cat, you know what I'm saying? Or any of the other things that you may be having to do. They're not taking out their own trash. They're not spraying their house for bugs and all the man things that I've had to do in the last few months because the man is not doing them. My wimpy friends are not doing those things. And I'm not mad about it because I'm centered on the fact that it makes me who I am. All those that didn't grow up in mold and didn't lose their brother because of it, well, I was mad about that for a while. But I wouldn't be talking to y'all about anything. Y'all wouldn't know me if that didn't happen. Because I didn't care about crap. I didn't care about anything to do with anything except for eating cupcakes and drinking Sonic. And I promise you I wasn't going to talk to you about some essential oil. I wanted to have fun. I wanted to hang out with my sister and talk about people. I wanted to go to the mall. I wanted to dress up for Halloween. And I wanted to do what I want to do. And I didn't pay attention to anything. I didn't worry about helping anybody with anything. Had that not happened to me, I'm gracious that it happened to me. I'm centered because it happened to me. It happened to me because I am who I am because. Gratitude for even the worst parts of your life, for even the person you resent the most, if you can send out literally like I like to be visual, so don't think I'm all into some mantra here, but I'm a photographer, and so I like to be visual. If you can just send out the golden light of goodness every time you think about that person that said, why didn't she heal him? Hide and watch. Is he walking? Is he mowing the lawn? Is he driving his truck today? And I send out love for what he does not know. I send out love to him who said that, who was a family friend. I send out love to him because him saying that, it made something rise up inside of me. And I'm not even talking about anger. I'm talking about a new level of hide and watch, buddy. And had he not said that, I wouldn't be telling you this. I wouldn't be talking about gratitude around that subject. I literally was like, okay. When my sister told it to me, I was like, this is fun. Wow. I mean, I'm not surprised that somebody said that, because that just doesn't surprise me. You can't surprise me these days, I thought. But I'm surprised that that person said that. Should he need help tomorrow? Should he want my ivermectin? He could have it. Should his daughter be sick? Though he doesn't have a daughter, so I wouldn't say otherwise. Should his daughter be sick? I would lay hands on her, should I be asked. Now, I want you, when you get off here tonight, I'm not going to keep you any longer, but heart coherence is something that is near and dear to me. It's a practice I do daily. It has to do with gratitude. It has to do with literally centering yourself and focusing on something that makes you smile for just a few seconds every day, and getting yourself in that space before you respond to emails, before you do any work, before you handle a situation that needs to be handled with your child. Heart coherence. I love Greg Braden, Gregg Braden's work on heart coherence. I think he does a lot of work with the Heart Math Institute, where they can actually quantify or see, they can, like, gratitude is its own frequency, and so they do frequency work where they can actually see when they get a group of people in a city together and all focus on, say, stopping the violence in their city, or those types of things. When they get everybody to do heart coherence and focus on the same thing at the same time, the crime rates drop dramatically. And yeah, I know those of you who have taken my breakthrough class, that's something that I spend one entire session really talking about. There's a little graphic I have made somewhere that I can share in the group that talks about, it's just like a little, kind of like the lymphatic massage. It's just bullet points to remind you. Once you've watched a video about it, you'll be like, okay, I get it. Also, heart coherence is one of those things that could, it's just going down the highway by itself, and it can lean over toward holy beliefs, or it could probably lean over into, like, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm just telling you, since it talks about frequency and stuff, I can promise you can find people out there that will talk about it to you, that, and probably use it, because it has its own frequency and its own power, so to speak. And so you could lean over into stuff that you might not want to watch. So I'm not suggesting that to you, but like I said, I love listening to Greg Braden talk about it. I love how he explains it. I went to watch a seminar of his in Seattle, maybe the only plane ticket in my life that I have ever paid for. I think everywhere else I've ever been, Plexus has paid for. And but I wanted to go see him so bad, and I wanted to go listen to him talk about a specific topic, and got there, and at the meet and greet, he announces, "We've had a little change up. We're going to talk about something completely different tomorrow." And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Because everybody else that was there, they just lived there. Like, people hadn't flown in to see him talk about whatever. And I was like, "You're joking." Oh, I was so disappointed all night. I was so disappointed, instead of being like, "Where you lead me makes me stronger. I know I'm here for a reason," instead of being all centered and heart coherent. And the next day, he spent almost the entire day explaining heart coherence, and I've practiced it ever since, and it's changed me. I believe that it leads me into um, being able to practice healing. It leads me able to basically get outside myself. And I don't mean like outside my body, but outside of my own drama and stuff that's going on. It helps me to be more centered on what I should be centered on if I'm going to do healing work with someone or those types of things. And I think for tonight, I'm going to go glance back up and see if I've missed any like big questions that I feel like I can cover tonight. I'm really, really hot right now, but because I did ask you guys to give me some questions, and then I just came back and didn't cover them. Linda, message me about that. Like, message me, just take that same question, or just message me. I know what your question is. I won't cover it here. Oh, the ribs and lower back. I'll tell you what, the ribs one, the like rib heads popping out, you literally just put your arms like this inside you don't want a really wide doorway. Like, you don't want this. You want this. So like, I use my bathroom door because it's narrow, and I put my feet a little bit forward of the door, if that makes sense. And you just press, and you don't do it, you don't make yourself hurt, but you just press and hold for like 10 seconds. And once you've ever had a rib head go out and experience the pain it is to try to breathe while a rib head is out, you'll learn to start doing that every time you go to the bathroom. Like, I just do it after I go pee or something. I do it, and it keeps my rib heads popped in. I don't ever have to worry about it. I haven't had one go out ever since I started that. The low back one, I lay on my back. I can't really demonstrate it for you. I lay on my back, and I put my knees up. And let's see, I put my knees up like this, and I put one ankle across the other knee and push the knee that's up. If that makes sense. Like, my knees are bent. I put one ankle, like I'm crossing my ankle across my knee, and then that knee that is up, I push like this. I push on that knee and butterfly it out a little bit and hold it. And then after you've held it for a while, you'll be able to dip it a little bit further. And then after you've held it a little bit longer, you dip a little further, and then you wiggle it all out, do the other side. I do that 2 or 3 times every time before I go to sleep at night, and that keeps my lower back and hips in. That's I can't remember what that's called. I think that may just been something Jetty taught me to do. I don't know but you can find YouTube videos on all kinds of things. So let's see. Okay. All right. I'm going to close this out tonight. Thank you guys for popping on here.
Hey, Lori,
yeah.
will you show us real quick, like when you say rub your stomach, I've looked on that video and stuff, but where, like, is it like right here by your ribs, or is it down in your gut, or where?
I will tell you that for me, I do both upper and lower, because I was carrying around what would look like under a shirt a little bit of a donut around the belly button, if that makes sense. Not everybody is like that. some people carry it all lower and some people carry it all upper. And I think you can kind of just, I mean, I tell you what, ever since I have realized that you can move stuff around on your own body, and I'm not joking, like even the cellulite, when I read that tonight, I was like, well, that makes sense. I have been like my inner thighs, I go to town. Like I'm talking about like heat them up. Heat that griddle, girl, heat it up. Melt that cellulite. right below your butt cheek too. You know, if you got one of those, my dad used to call them saddlebags.
So you're just talking about moving stuff around. You're not talking about facing it back towards your stomach or doing any of that. Because I'm always worried, you know, if I'm rubbing the right place like, on my.
I'm
okay.
The lymphatic stuff here, down here, and then around the groin.
Okay.
Okay, that's what I do.
Okay. Thank you. Because I mean, I'm like this all day long, doing this and this and this. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, what is the real, you know,
somebody posted a guy doing it today. I think it was Lacey. Lacey posted in the chat, in a comments. She said a more handsome version of the lymphatic massage. And it's a TikTok of a guy, a nicely carved dude doing the whole boom, boom, boom. He looks better than I do doing it. I'd rather you watch him.
Is that in the group?
Yeah, it's
okay.
I'll find it and tag you.
Okay.
Oh Lord.
Well, thank you for explaining that. Because I mean, I'm just like, am I doing this right? And you know,
I would say also don't be afraid to do it anywhere. Like I wouldn't hit your head real hard, but other than that, like I have been doing like even back here. But I will tell you, that's one of the first things that I saw that was completely different in me, of all things, is first of all, in the last few years, the first time I had ever seen like stuff that made me not want to wear a tank top, you know, like just here and here, and like a little bit of a bra cut right there. In the last few years, I've seen that and I was like, ooh, I hate that. And it's one of the first things that went away on me with Restore. Now, I'm also doing that every day. Basically, if you're picturing it like this will help you. Picturing fat cells, lymph nodes and fat cells, and you are massaging them and you are, what am I trying to say? Persuading them. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Let go of the toxics. I talk to it too. You know me. I'm saying let go. We gotta let go of those toxic heavy metals. Gotta go. Warm it up. You can imagine if it's got fat in it, it needs to be warmed up to melt it out.
Right.
Might as well do it in a tanning bed, right? I'm just joking.
I'm gonna go find a red light, big old red light thing to stand in and do it.
Yeah. Red lights and saunas. That somebody had asked me to cover that tonight, and I was like, ooh, I don't feel very well versed. I think that stuff is all good. Red lights, saunas, I think that stuff is great, but I don't know enough about to. You can learn, for sure, couldn't learn anything more from me than you would learn from Google on red light stuff. So, okay.
Hey, Lori, can I say something real quick?
Yes. Hey, guys.
So, sorry, no. So the whole lymphatic massage is supposed to help, obviously, open it up, but with pain, right?
With what?
Pain
in
the body, right? Okay. So it just dawned on me earlier today. I'm trying to explain this to my mom. And I told her, and I said, you know what? And she goes, what? I said, I don't know if you can see it on video, but do you see that I have this swelling right here?
Yeah,
and
I do.
I told her it's like right here. And I told her, I said, that's a nurse pointed this out to me when I was working at the hospital, like when I started my career in 2013. And she goes, why are you swollen there? And I go, I don't know. I've never paid attention. So what I'm sitting here thinking, all my pain is right-sided. So I don't know, would this have anything to do? You know, I'm just thinking, like, you know, that it's trapped. So I was like beating the heck out of it earlier. So anyway, but yeah,
rub it.
That out. Yeah, but
pound on it. Unless it's tender. I mean, I'm not telling everybody to like press on.
Right. It's not tender at all. It's okay. It's,
You
I mean,
probably have
see how
trapped
it moves?
inflammation, trapped detox pathways in that area. Right-sided stuff generally has to do with, I don't know about this area, but right-sided stuff usually generationally speaking, is probably your father's side, or a masculine energy in some way. So like either your father's side of the family, if it's something, I don't know. It's easier for me to explain body parts that I know what they represent. I don't know for sure what that, let's say if it were your shoulder, I would say there's probably something that you're carrying around the weight of that has to do with your father's side of the family if it's on your shoulder.
Well,
If your shoulders are like where you carry pressure, the weight of the world, so to speak. Or if it was your foot, I would say there's probably a decision about something to do with your father,
mhm.
and a decision about the future, because feet are about making that next step, taking a next step. So it's usually a decision. But also, it could have to do, the right-sided stuff can have to do with masculine, like for the foot, it would be a masculine decision, like maybe about whether to change a job or something like that. And usually I can give a couple of examples and people can start going, okay, yeah, let me think about that, or have a light bulb moment or whatever. I just don't know what you're talking about, right? Like clavicle area.
Yeah, like it's right here. It like here's my collarbone and it's right here and you can see how fluidy it looks.
I would look up what you probably, honestly, you just probably have lymph. That's probably lymphatic. And you
Okay.
probably just have backed up lymphatic fluid. You probably just need to do lymph massage, stay really hydrated for several days, and it will probably shrink and go away. It probably
Okay.
is not. I'm not saying it's not spiritual, but it probably is not.
Right, right.
That it
Okay.
is.
So you think twice a day or just once a day?
I would just do it once a day for a while, because you don't want to do it right at bedtime, because you don't want to do a lymph massage and then lay down, because that lymph needs gravity to help it do its
Okay.
job, and it can just get paused, and the liver will say it's back again, like that article said, the liver's not ready for it to come back again if you get it pumped out. And
Okay.
so make sure you're doing it while you're going to be upright for a while.
So first thing in the morning then.
First thing in the morning, drink plenty of water. If you're not going to drink a hydrate, then do some like Celtic salt or something or Himalayan salt or something to help you get good and get your electrolytes balanced and stay, so that the hydration is getting into the cells. It's interesting how many things I've learned about recently that are all about getting things into your cells. Hydration is one of the things. Lipids, the green, somebody was asking me, you said you don't take your BioCleanse and your Ease at the same time. And I don't. I think BioCleanse is meant to get lipids out of your body, and which is, lipids are fats, and oils, which is like the green lipped mussel is an oil. It's a fat, which is good for you, a good fat. And you don't want the BioCleanse to take it. You don't want it to cleanse out of you. So I don't take those two things at the same time. And I try to remember that kind of thing. And that's also X factor. If you've taken something else that you want to be highly absorbed, take it with your X factor. X factor has that aloe in it. I'm trying to think other tips. Oh, ProBio 5 makes everything more absorbable, because of the fact that it's healing your gut lining and making it where your body properly absorbs, which a lot of that we've talked about in other Zooms from this series, but also part of that within that article tonight, sort of talking, not ProBio 5 specifically, but healing the gut lining is super important to make your body properly absorb things. So.
Well, I'm glad you said that about the Ease and BioCleanse because I take them at the same time every night. So I'll stop doing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ease, I think Ease during the day. If you take BioCleanse at night, take Ease a few hours separated from it.
Okay.
I know that I will say, I think one of the recent combos suggests taking Ease and BioCleanse at night, because I think one of the recent combos one of the restore combos is like
It's
Ease.
the detox combo that you're talking
Okay.
about.
I think I haven't looked it up, but I think somebody said, well, why did you say to take them together the other day? And I was like, I can promise you I did not. And they were like, oh, no. I read that. And I wondered if maybe one of the combos suggests that, but I don't suggest that. So,
Okay.
Lori,
right,
I
thank-
always thought that it was ease and BioCleanse. The BioCleanse makes BioCleanse and ease make the ease act like BioCleanse together. And so like some of my people get more loose stools if they take them together.
well, okay. I'll tell you something else I know about ease that you may be thinking of. If you take ease with food, it acts more like a digestive enzyme. If you take it without food, it acts more like an anti-inflammatory. There are things in it that are digestive enzymes, and if you take it at the same time as food, it's going to it works good if you need digestive enzymes. Like if your gut swells up every time you eat and you need a digestive enzyme, well, first of all, you probably need a liver detox. I'm learning now. You probably need a liver detox, and you probably won't have that problem anymore. But if your gut swells up when you're eating certain foods, you're missing digestive enzymes. And like, for example, milk that is processed milk like you get at the grocery store, that milk has had the digestive enzyme boiled out of it. Lactase is boiled out of it, and that's why people are lactose intolerant. It's because if they had just drank it straight out of the udder, as weird as that sounds, the enzyme would still be there that made their body properly know what to do with lactose. Lactase helps lactose. But most people don't know that, and they drink, what is it, pasteurized milk? Is that what they call it? I mean, I know they call it I know those two words go together, but I think pasteurized means the boiling process. Homogenized, pasteurized, whatever. Okay, homogenized. Okay, so the boiling of the milk. I'm good for tidbits of information, folks. Tidbits. Fact check me on this.
You mean golden nuggets? You're good for golden nuggets.
Golden nuggets, right? Yeah, I can drag one of those home for you. I'll drag home the golden nuggets for you. So the milk, the protein, the digestive enzyme in milk has been boiled out. Raw milk doesn't generally do that to people, especially if their gut is healthy. There are other, like I found an enzyme called DAO when I was having horrible histamine problems, and I found it on a forum. Somebody saying that the only way they could digest certain histamines and get their body to properly process it and still be able to eat was this enzyme. And there for a while I took this enzyme and it did help. And my mom thinks that this enzyme actually, like, she puts a cape on it. She's like, first time I've been able to eat beans, which reminds me of like a Beano type thing, right? I don't have a problem with beans, but for whatever reason, my mom won't touch them. There are several things that she won't touch. And she's like, I told her, I said, I don't think you'll have any problems if you start this as far as like that kind of problem. And she swears by it now, DAO. It's a digestive enzyme. Ease does have certain ingredients, but honestly, I would not use, unless you've used it that way and it's perfect for you, I wouldn't use Ease as a digestive enzyme. I wouldn't use it eating it with food, because I feel like you're really wasting what you spent your money on. You can buy digestive enzymes cheaper than Ease if that's what you're missing. But for the inflammatory properties, if that makes sense to you, I would not, if somebody said, I need a digestive enzyme, I'd be like, well, I have some in my cabinet, but like, as far as Ease, if they wanted something, I have it, but I wouldn't have somebody buy it for that reason. That help?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I'm wondering if that's why my die-off is not like going away as fast, because I take a ton of ease. If everybody knows me, they know ease is my Jesus product. He's going to have to come back for we don't take it anymore over here. But I take it 3 times a day, 2 of them 3 times a day. And I started taking that last dose with my BioCleanse at night. And since the Restore has come out, and so I'm going to switch that and see if that doesn't help that situation I was telling you about.
Okay. The BioCleanse, I'm trying to think if there's any other cross ones that I learned about the ease thing from one of our Jules was married to a doctor, and he taught that to us at one of some like fall opportunity tour about the digestive enzyme thing and the lipid thing. Like if you use any kind of oils, you don't want to take it at the same time as BioCleanse. If you take, like Mega X would probably be another one you don't want to use because it's oils. You don't want to use, and if some people put oils into capsules and swallow them, like essential oils, you wouldn't want to use BioCleanse at the exact same time. You want to do it at a different time of day.
Okay.
I mean, I can't prove that what I'm saying to you is right, but based on what I understand about the way the products work, BioCleanse, cleansing lipids out, you don't want to waste your money. Basically, it's not going to hurt you, but you're not going to be getting best benefit. Okay, for real.
Hey girl, thanks.
For real, I got to go. Y'all have a good night. I'll try to get this thing loaded. Bye. Oh, hey, one thing. I'll try to put the notes in the group. Like I'll put that line in the river. I can't remember if I referenced any videos, but I will put, if you want to read that prophecy, Nate Johnson prophecy, I posted it on my wall. I never post anything on my wall that's a link that takes people other places, because it shoves things down in the algorithm, and I know better than to do that. But this one spoke to me enough that I did it today. I shared it on my wall. And the other video that I did earlier this week about gut health can be found on my wall or in the group. It's the one that has timelining that's in the title. Those are my little end of the Zoom reminders for y'all to go watch this. Yes, I'll post this. I will post this on YouTube and then share it in the group. It'll take a little while. Probably get it loaded tonight, though. All right. Good night, guys.